Okay, I'm just gonna do my 10 minutes of talk today. I'm going with the face. It's still good shaven, so I guess I'll do the face. I like to point my camera outside too because I'm very in tune with nature and I love looking outside. And a lot of times I won't even make eye contact with the camera because even as I record, it's like I'm almost multitasking. Like, what's going on? Look at the clouds. Is that snow gonna come this way? I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get the snowstorm today, but I was able to get to my mom's house and do some of my laundry, do some chores that she needed done. Our relationship hasn't been the greatest, but we are at the stage of cordial, which is good um, to me. So I'm happy for that. I'm not going to get involved in too much of my personal life on that front. I got a lot of stuff going on, so I tend to focus on the positive things that are going on. I am happy that I got to see Sasha, the dog, my mom's dog, who I've grown attached to. So yeah, that's that. And I'm trying to improve upon saying yeah and so um and those are the things like I'm working on. So I just rolled my eyes when I actually said one of the words that I don't want to frequent into my conversation when I'm talking. And this is all just experimental right now. I feel like I'm going to do about 10 minutes of this a day and just try to practice on those basic things. And if I get through a video with just maybe a couple slip ups, I'm going to be pretty happy. So, so those are the things that I don't like. I'm going to try to make progress on every video. And maybe some of those things are okay. Like there's no problem with saying those, but personally, I don't like to say them. I don't like to incorporate them into my conversation about what I did or any type of a story about my day. If I'm trying to, you know, see, if I'm trying to tell the public, and I'm going to catch myself and call myself out on camera, you know, right? See, I did it again. So, so I guess so's okay. So's okay to me. So is kind of okay to me. The word so to carry on. We'll see how it transitions. If it's something that bothers me, that's something that I'm going to try to improve upon as well. So I really, so far on this video, I really haven't achieved anything except just babbling about how I'm going to try to improve upon the things that when I'm speaking that are I believe are going to make my conversation sound much better. And I don't know if anybody ever even thought about this, even in the spectrum of YouTube, to be like, I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to show you my struggles and tell you my struggles and let you see me suffer with like trying to articulate a story or whatever I want to get out in the world, and let them know that if I get better in the future at this, I'd be like, wow, we really seen progress. We really seen progress in Dan's articulation skills. And I believe articulation is a big word. I always thought I was smart just for even saying that. But whatever. So I think I'm going to use so still. I think I'm going to use so, just like I just used it. So going forward with my day, it didn't feel as productive as yesterday. All the trash blew from the garbage over there. I did a little cleanup in this park here. And then, yeah, like I said before, I went over to my mom's house and now I'm just back cruising. So I have about 5 more minutes before I'm done with, before I'm done with this little conversation of 10 minutes I do per day. And I guess I want to talk about maybe my journey into surfing and how I became really into it and when did it all start? Like, when did I know I was a surfer? Just like people and their identities, and they know from when they're a little kid about who they are. And we've gone through about a decade of this whole thing that goes on, and we really, really push the limits of gender and everything. And I say, hey, at the end of the day, it's like, you are who you are, and just love who you are, and that's all I care about, right? As long as you're not getting in my way and you're not a threat to me, you could be anyone you want. You could be any gender you want. You can be whoever you want. Yeah, I know I just said it, but I'm not gonna get in your way. Like, you're not a threat to me. The things that I want to do are still gonna get accomplished, hopefully. The things that I worry about. So that's why I'm just too into my own goals. And if that's a little selfish, because even with my pull-ups, I set an unrealistic goal. So my mind has to be that of a professional athlete to achieve that kind of goal. It's just how it is. A lot of my mind, professional athletes cannot be very, very involved in what is going on so much. A lot of times, people that are so into their craft, it's not that they're selfish. It's like they need to be selfish to sustain. You think the best football players are worried about certain things all day, and the things that we worry about and we see in social media and that. And no, they're thinking about football. They're thinking about, they need to be competitive. They need to sustain their life. They want to be that guy. Everybody wants to, and that's how people sometimes start getting detached from those issues that are going on in our society, is because they are just hyper focused on something that they're trying to achieve. I did trail off into that. So now I'm going to go into my quick surfing story of how I got into it. I just had to let that out there. 87, 19, I think it was 86 or 87, I watched The North Shore. It was a cheesy little surf movie. I loved it. I loved it so much that when we rented it and we couldn't buy it, maybe we couldn't afford it at that time, I took our cassette tape and I recorded the whole movie, just the sound of it, the sound of the ocean, all the dialogue, which is all classic. If you're a surfer, all the dialogue in that movie, like if you were in the 80s and 90s, you are still quoting that movie till today. Maybe even some of the kids in the 2000s, and I don't know how that movie has aged, but I know back in that movie amongst surfers is probably like the one. Like, I've heard of a couple others. Endless Summer, that one was huge. North Shore was me, where I found out that I'm a freaking surfer. I want to get out there. Like, around that movie, I started buying surfing magazines, throwing up dudes on my wall. All the old 80s stuff that I see, I'm like, yeah, that was on my wall. Even before I even went and tried surfing, I just wanted to be one for sure. I had the clothing, I had everything, except when I was like 86, 87, I had everything except a way to get to the beach and a way to pursue this passion, which didn't come along until about maybe 6-7 years later, I'm thinking. So at least I got the opportunity to follow that dream that I had. And not only follow that dream, but move to Hawaii and get to actually live that kind of experience with the locals and everything like that. Like, it was like something that was fiction to me that actually crossed over into reality, to live that kind of a lifestyle. I mean, I never was a real pro surfer. Most pro surfers these days are born into it. They're getting pushed into waves over their head by the time they're like, obviously, know what you're doing first. Be a pro surfer before you know what to do with your kid. Like, I see people doing stupid stuff with their kids, and I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do it if you're not a pro. Let the pros teach their kids how to be pros. Don't, just because you see somebody pushing their kid in a big wave and they're doing good, like, a pro surfer knows where they're at, So, yeah, I would definitely get them into coaching and into that type of an atmosphere before. If you're not a pro surfer or don't have the experience of years and years and years, your kid's going to end up hating you, and they're probably going to end up hating the ocean. So before you get that into your head, because surfing's blowing up, like it's it's getting big. Just the way I see it, the resources that are involved in it, everything. And that's why not only I'm pushing the whole ocean clean thing, like that's why I spend it's like, I know that the industries they just put what, 100 million, I don't even know what that, they put it out in Abu Dhabi. Like, why would they do that? It's taking off, it's getting big, it's getting huge. And I think that's something that a lot of old timer surfers, like the guys with the local hearts and this is our spot and all this stuff like that, it's like, I think you kind of got to let that go, you know. Just for me, the way I view it is that, you know what, dude, it's better than sitting staring at the phone just like this all day. Like, I got a story for the day when I go out and I surf. And when I see people do that, and people want to do that, people want to do stuff like this. People want to go out, surf, and then bring it to YouTube. And I say, hey, that's good stuff, man. You know, at least you're out there doing something in the world. You got miserable people in this world who do nothing except complain. And I'm like, hey, at least you're engaging with nature, you know. Back in the day, I might have been mad at you. No doubt. You know, I was the same way. Like, if people paddled out when I was, 10, 15 years ago and I was the only guy out, I'd be like, and still, there is a little bit, but it's like, I don't care. Hey, at least they're out here. At least they're doing something. At least they see things the way I do. Or at least trying to get into it. So, for me, I'm generally on the side of saying, hey, at least these people are out here. But that doesn't mean that I would ever go to a spot, like a secret spot or a local spot in Hawaii and act like I'm somebody, you know? I'd probably get to know everybody first. I'd probably be a familiar face. Maybe I would sit on the shoulder for like 5 years before I even ask Uncle, hey, can I get a wave? You know? Or at least have a storyline. One of the storylines that I had to surf Shark Pit is, I don't know, the guy, a really well-known guy in Maui, Uncle Snake, he was telling me, hey, go. Like, I would never take away from this guy. He's a Hawaiian legend, dude. I would never take away from him. The only way I'm going to go try to catch a wave, he said, hey, go. So then that gave me a little bit of saying, like, hey, I'm one of the guys now out here in this lineup or whatever. You know, I lived in Lahaina for a year or two before that happened. He was my neighbor. And then I guess he saw me every day. He's like, this guy's cool, whatever. Maybe, you know. And I said, I keep saying, And he let me have the waves. And then in my mind, another time is after a storm, we had about 10 guys sitting on the beach and we can see the sharks. The sharks were eating a whale over at Puumana. You could see the whale washed up. You could see all the fins flapping around out there. And the spot, Shark Pit, it was going off. At my level, like maybe a foot or two overhead, it was like it's my perfect day. It was brown, murky water. And I just look at everybody and tell them, I'm like, I'm going to go surf. I'm going. You guys could all sit on the beach, but I'm going to go surf. That's how much I love this spot. And it's situations like that where I'm just like, okay, now I feel like I'm showing people, and I have a story now that I have friends that could be like, yeah, I was there that day. I saw the whale. I saw the thing. There was fins everywhere in the water. The lifeguard came up to me that day and told me that I was putting myself in danger. And I don't want anybody to ever do this. But I said, hey, this is what I need to do and I came out alive. And then after that, I feel like, okay, now when I surf here, I'm like, I know how bad I want to surf here. I know what I did in the past. I know I put myself at risk, and I'm like, I'm still here. And so from there on, I'm like, okay, when somebody wants to call me out, I'm going to get a little upset because, I put my life on the line for this freaking wave. And it's situations like that in my mind where I'm like, okay, if I really want to surf this wave, that's the seed that would be planted in my mind if anyone wants to call me out. Probably. But if I go to like Honolulu Bay or something like that, I'm just going to sit on the shoulder. I don't have any story. I could probably drop names, but I'm not going to do that. And that's just the way I navigate. I just farted. I don't know if you heard that. That's the way I'm going to navigate my way into the lineup, is I'm going to actually have a storyline to be, if anybody calls me out, I'd be like, okay, well, hey, where were you the day? Like, there was a whole bunch of surfers didn't want to go out. Somebody actually did paddle. One of the other guys that I knew did come out with me after that. I was like, oh, thank God. 50%, 50%. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. It was like one of the best things I ever felt, because I said, okay, well, now my odds, if something does happen, he's out here. So that's pretty cool. So that was a little story that got carried away about surfing and all that. And just a quick update. Well, that was just how I generally that's how I knew I was a surfer before I even got into it. But how I actually got into surfing and got surfing, I'll probably save that for another day, I guess.